Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Grandpa from Thunderdog Esports, bringing you another edition of the Top Dog League. Bear with me as I get my camera focused right. I'm a little up close and personal. I apologize for the ugliness right in front in your face there. We will be bringing you Eternal Dreamers against Integrity Gaming tonight. For those of you that are new out there, welcome. For those of you that saw us last week, welcome back. So the first map, it looks like we're getting set up on Whirlwind. And casting with me tonight, as always, is the super smexy Blaze Most. Blaze, how you doing this evening?
Oh, great. We're about to cast a PvP on Whirlwind, and we're just getting situated at first. And this will be a first best-of-5 series. Each player will play one game each, so it guarantees that 10 different players will play throughout these games. If you're new, this is the format that we use, and each players compete for points in a format. So that way everybody gets a chance to display what they are, and everybody practices really hard for each of these games. So in the next few seconds, we'll be starting up these games, and we'll be casting it.
Also, I was debating on whether or not I should wear the hat. Chime in, let me know what you think of the hat. Good idea, bad idea. Should I cover up more of my face? Should I get centered in the camera?
Yeah, we want to make sure the hat, clarifies your personality, that, you are a grandpa.
Well, I don't have a fishing hat, unfortunately, or I would have definitely worn that for this evening.
Alright, so we're in the loading screen right now for the PvP that we're going to do. And once we get into the game, we're going to introduce the players on their respective sides of the maps, and we'll go from there.
And because I am Grandpa, my idea of zooming the camera kind of goes like this. So if I need to sit back a little bit, we'll do that. That's how I zoom in or zoom out. I'm a little low tech.
He's got the cigar for added effect that, he's about to take a puff.
This is an e-cigarette, by the way, so no tobacco plants were harmed in the making of this product. All right, in the upper right-hand corner, we have, from Integrity Gaming, Mogaras. And I hope I pronounced that close to correctly. Is the yellow Protoss in the upper right. And in the lower left, we have, from Eternal Dreamers, Migraine. Very unique spelling there, a little play on words.
Yeah, it's not really, Migraine. It's actually spelled in its own, creative way.
So we've got a little Protoss versus Protoss action this evening. And we'll have to see. Last week, if you guys remember, if you tuned in, we had a little cannon rushing right off the bat. I don't know if we'll see that in a mirror matchup or not. No one's sending out a super early scouting probe, so...
Yeah, there's not really much focus on trying to hide any text, although Whirlwind is, has a really common tendency to hide text on random corner of the map. As we are doing a PvP, any of these players could hide it anywhere on the map, and it would be more based on trying to figure out, what kind of gas they're committing to, and you would see that by taking an early to simulators.
Now, with a map as big as Whirlwind, would you expect to see actually a macro game, even though it's a mirror matchup, or can we expect some early aggression, maybe some four-gate play, that kind of thing?
Either one, it has the opportunity to be created on the map. I feel like because of the fact that it is a little bit bigger, it might be a little bit more difficult to get your pressure on your opponent a lot quicker. So, they would have to have their forward pylons preemptively set up for either player. And as we noticed from Mogaras, he is going to commit to the early two assimilators in comparison to his opponent Migraine, which is only doing one right now.
Now, also, I would assume two assimilators might mean he's not necessarily going to go for an early push. He's going to go for a little bit more early tech. Would that be accurate in saying?
Yeah, he'll either get his warp gate out a little bit faster, or he'll decide to immediately put down some sort of tech after his cybernetics core finishes. Either one of those are possible options. He will probably skip the Zealot because he'll decide to get a stock route, as he's doing right now. He's not really focusing on trying to build any Zealots to be able to hold off against any probes, while Migraine is.
Yeah, it looks like they're still trying to find each other here on this giant map.
As it's creating a almost X in the center right now, as the Fog of War is almost symmetrical now.
If any of you are as old as me, you may remember something called spirograph. This is much like what it looked like.
All right, so the first mothership core is coming out for Mograss in comparison to a little slower for Migraine as the Stalker comes out first for Mograss. So a little bit of differences for players right now. And
Although,
for
looks
the
like their warp gates right on par, both of them. Pretty much started at the same time for warp gate.
Mhm. So we noticed from Mograss, he does have an additional 100 gas right now in comparison to his opponent. And oddly enough, a Twilight Council actually going down for Migraine, the person with the lesser gas, whereas his opponent really hasn't decided to commit anything. There it goes. They're both actually going to do replicated builds. We don't know whether or not one's going to go for Blink Stalker or one's going to go for DTs. That's the question right now that we're going to look at.
Well, I think Mogaras definitely has the gas for DTs if he wants to go that route.
I agree with that. I feel like, judging by a few things that he's doing right now, Blue looks like he's actually going to do some sort of pressure. I don't think he's necessarily going to try to finish the game at all right now. He isn't really chrono boosting anything, although he is. There goes the blink. Okay, so he is going to do a blink pressure build. It should hit within the next minute or two. We'll see if Mograss can be able to handle that with the DT
Oh, and
Shrine.
there it is. As we talk about it, the Dark Shrine is down and running.
Mm-hmm. And this is kind of the leverage that he has. In this case, Migraine has a little bit more of a riskier build because he has no way of detecting the DTs. All Mograss has to do is basically just build 1 or 2 DTs, and this attack could be thwarted.
Right, he has, Migraine has no Forge and no Robo, although he just dropped a Robo right now, as I stated, so his
First
push may be
Stalker being
thwarted.
kited, yeah. Photon Overcharge gets casted, and wow, Mastery Call for the Mothership Core gets done. Well, it's very unusual to say that, but one Stalker gets taken out, and he does suspect there's something going on. This is a forward pylon from Blue. I'm not colorblind or anything, but I actually see that.
I did not catch that until you pointed it out.
So we still have this forward pylon sitting here for the left, so there is still a potential to do damage as Mograss actually focuses on taking his Nexus behind this. And the DT Shrine is finished. Let's see what Migraine is going to do against it.
Well, he does drop a forward pylon, so he did clean up Migraine's attack at his base. So with a forward pylon, he can turn around and hit some aggression there with some DTs. Although
And
obviously Migraine's well aware of it. He's got that. He's got that observer coming out real quick and in a hurry.
Yeah, whenever he actually scouted with the Zealot in the base, he noticed a Dark Shrine, and that's why he's coming up with a little miniature wall on his natural right now, because he does suspect DT's coming, and he is pushing it back. And here comes the Observer. This attack's not going to do any damage in this case.
No, repelled very easily, and that might set Mograss, might put Mograss in a little bit of a delicate situation here.
Yeah,
if Migraine chooses to push out.
That should trigger some sort of regression. He should know he has not detected yet that his opponent is actually expanding. I feel like both players will expand. Since he does have the Blink tech out and he does have the Obs in play, there's a little bit of a tech advantage for Migraine now in this case. So you should be able to try to at least deny this expansion or try to trade with using Blink.
Yeah, I definitely feel some aggression on Migraine's part would be the right move, and it looks like he thinks that way too, because he's heading over here to the natural of Mogaraz.
Mm-hmm. And he does have his newly created forward pylon to be able to warp in some Blink Stalkers. Now, I've seen players have a tendency to, even if they have Blink Stalkers out, they're going to, wow, even there's a Colossus that's being faked. The Blink Stalkers will basically try to buy some time and try to get some damage out. They won't necessarily commit to an attack, but they'll abuse the fact that they have mobility for a Blink.
And here we go, the engagements here. That faked Colossus doing no damage, obviously.
And it's being focused on, it's taking a lot of damage, but it's not really the thing that's doing any damage. So yeah, there goes the Blink. A lot of damage taken for the Mothership Core, but overall I feel like Mograss is going to hold this off, and he has a bit of a probe lead at this point with 8 that he's had for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. If Mograss can hold this off, he probably is going to be in better shape here.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Migraine has to find some way to get a little bit of ahead, because if he lets Mograss's advantage steamroll, he's going to have so much better of a composition as the game flows forward.
Yeah, I do definitely feel like Migraine does need to do some damage here. I just don't know if he's got enough stuff to do enough damage, though. That's the thing.
Here goes some more attacks right now. He's trying to focus in on a few units. I think he healed up a lot of Zealots. Force Field goes down, but doesn't work in this case because there is one big Archon in the way. Time Warp gets casted down, and I feel like once again this attack is sorted off. The supplies are relatively even, though, in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. Migraine, I really feel like he needed to do some damage there, and I don't think he got anything accomplished. So Mograss is sitting pretty at this moment. He's up 11 probes, 41 to 30 of Migraine. And obviously, of course, Mograss does have the DT Shrine already set, so he's got that tech he can use later on in the matchup as well.
And the response for Migraine is actually to build a DT Shrine and a Warp Prism. Now, I'm trying to figure out if he has observers, and he does have an observer, so he should be able to hold off this. But the real attempt for this Warp Prism that's being produced is to try to kill some probes. He realizes that he didn't do any damage on that attack, and that his opponent has had this, or Mograss has had probes set up this entire time. And surprisingly enough, I'm actually not sure how this would work, but cannons are already being set up. He realizes that he has the Twilight Shrine out, so he should know that there's some potential to do DTs. It wasn't something that he immediately rushed into doing, but now he knows he actually has the money to actually, defend his base against any sort of DT prong attacks.
No, absolutely. That definitely gives him that advantage. And like you mentioned, with the cannons going down, that's going to help him hold off any kind of Warp Prism harass, which, oddly enough, is exactly what Migraine's trying to do. But that's what you would expect, I think, at this point. If your opponent fails an attack, he's probably going to try to follow up with some harassment.
Yeah, he got to do some sort of damage with this. Whether it's even the Obs just realizes that, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do anything. He's got to warp in about 4 to 5 DTs to be able to make this work, and he has to be reliant on the Obs to be out of position. Both players are taking their thirds now, and this is just gonna sit here. That's very strange to see that.
Well, he could be setting it up. I don't think this was spotted by Mograss, so he could be using that as kind of like a two-prong attack a little bit later on, where maybe he's going to go ahead and rush in and try to pull the army back while he goes in against the natural. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I think he understands that if he throws that in there right now, it'll get spotted, and it won't accomplish its actual goal. The Immortal count, though, for Mograss is starting to build up. I've seen that commonly, where in PvP matchups, the Immortals are very good tanks against Colossus. So if there's a bigger Immortal count than the Colossus, those Immortals are going to kill everything on the ground.
Well, especially since he knows his opponent went Blinkstalkers. I think, and invested in that tech, I think Immortal's a smart play.
Here goes the attack. Migraine is really going for that base. He's got to get something done with these DTs. He realizes that if he actually disables his cannon, he's going to be able to try to get as much probe kills as possible. It is disabled, but here comes the entire army of Mograss. He's just trying to focus on probes. That's all he's trying to do. Nothing really getting done. In fact, I feel like only 7, a couple of them. A couple workers were killed in that case. Not too much. Mostly focused on getting that cannon down.
But the other thing to consider, too, is Migraine's been probing up pretty hard behind this, so he's actually ahead by 2 probes after killing off a few of Mograss's and probing up, so to speak, of his own. He's kind of pulled ahead in economy right now and actually taking a small lead.
I noticed Mograss's composition is just far greater than Migraine's right now. He's just got so many Archons and so many Immortals right now. He can actually do a straight push. I'm really confused on what Migraine is trying to do in this case. He is making mass Immortals, but I just don't see all of his army. It almost looks like he has nothing.
Well, and Mograss with his larger army, I mean, he should really try to do some damage. I feel he probably doesn't know he has as big of an army lead as he does. But you've got to think, you've seen an early push fail by your opponent. You've seen a Warp Prism DT drop by your opponent. You got to figure he can't have that much at home. And it looks like that's exactly what Mograss has figured out, and he is migrating all of his units across the map.
Mograss is migrating across the map. He is going to be able to do some damage, and he does realize that he has a major gas advantage. A lot of DTs were committed. DTs throughout the entire game were committed to trying to harass, and it was unsuccessful. All the money that he's built up so far should be able to get him in a decent composition. Migraine realizes that he is about to get attacked with that Zealot that was running away, so he's warping in a couple Archons to try to buy some time. So we're going to figure out how much damage this can actually do. Force fields are pretty much useless at this point if there are any present. So more so Guardian Shield Time Warp gets put down by Migraine, still slowing the composition, trying to buy some extra time. But
and right now Mograss has At 30 army supply lead, so he definitely has an advantage, but Migraine's set up with the concave already.
Yeah, he's just hold positioning his units. He knows that he just needs to keep those units on that hill right there. That's his best way to actually kill stuff without actually committing his army. Back and forth. Oh my gosh, I'm not sure which one of them actually wants to commit. I almost feel like Mogrash should just try to split some of his units on the top left to get a better flank. He has the Archons. He can push this advantage, and he is going to. All of his Mortal and Archons are in front right now doing so much damage. Everything is just getting taken out. There's just so much more yellow I can see than blue. And I feel like he's just going to take this game.
Yeah, I think so too. Not only does Mograss have more army value, but he's got the stronger tech units as well. And there you go, GG. Mograss takes it. I just love saying Mograss. Is that wrong?
no, no, it's not. There's a lot of good effort by Migraine to try to, harass the mineral lines. He realizes he was behind the entire game. He wasn't necessarily focused on, just saying, I got to build up some sort of tech units. He was trying to get DTs in there. He was trying to get zealots in the mineral line. But there was just too good of a response by Mograss. He was focusing more on tech. I think he had, very small amount of units at the start. He had a few zealots. He warped in, one DT, and that was it. And the rest of them, he was just making immortals and archons.
Yeah, and Migraine went for that quick blink stalker push, and he just needed to do some damage to Mograss, and he wasn't able to do it. And Mograss was probing up behind that and just took it down. Very well played.
Mm-hmm.
Very well played.
Yes, good job for IG for taking their first game. We're going to have two new players show up, and they're both going to play against each other as we are in the process of setting that up.
And once again, for those of you tuning in, this is the Top Dog League. This is Grandpa from Thunderdog Esports, along with Blazemost. And we have Eternal Dreamers versus Integrity Gaming tonight. We just saw a PvP on Whirlwind, a pretty good-sized PvP. It was a lot of fun, a little back and forth. And if you're just joining us, welcome, welcome. We're going to have this next game set up for you here in just a minute. I do not have the roster in front of me like I should, and I'd be able to tell you who they are.
It's going to be iDrone versus Legend, and we're going to be doing this on Polar Night LE. For those of you that are unfamiliar with this map, it's one of the recent additions to the Season 5 Heart of the Storm maps. It's a wintry map, and it has a two-player spawns, and there's about five or six different bases that you can take for either side.
Now, since this is iDrone, that would indicate that he's going to cost us more to stream him. Right?
Yeah,
he's going to look a little slicker.
There might be a probability that he's going to be Zerg. It could be wrong, could be trickery. You see those players on ladder, and they have, Marine, and they're actually Protoss. And, the first thing comes to mind when you see Marine, they're Terrans. You're going to do your Terran build order. But then, he does a 2-gate, and you're like, oh, man, I thought you were Terran. And, they use that to their advantage, so to speak. So we're still waiting for him to get into the lobby to figure out what he is.
And if you like what you see here, check out our website. It's www.thunderdogesports.com. And he is a Zerg, exactly as you would imagine, with a name like iDrone.
Oh. Good. So it's going to be a ZVT then. We're going to figure out how well iDrone's control is against quite possibly Widowmines. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen. We don't know what Legend's style is yet. There's a lot of, things about how, I might as well go mech, or I might as well, play standard, or then you have those really creative players that they'll open up, one base, and they'll try to transition from that by, maybe building several Banshees or doing a proxy factory. Even that's something, something I've seen once.
Right here. $20 says it's Widowmines. Just saying. $20 right here, Widowmines.
As Grandpa's advertising, he is taking his claim to the bank. And he's probably going to be correct. I'm definitely not biased towards Legend at all. I do not know his playstyle. So, it's a possibility, but there's always those guys that are going to be, super different. We're going to see how well iDrone deals with it, whether he focuses on mutas or he shows us a different style. There's definitely a lot of ways you can play on ladder You can, that's the spot where you actually have to, explore your options and not necessarily be focused on, saying, I'm going to do the same thing each time. There's definitely a lot of other things that you could focus on when you go into ladder compared to a tournament format like this.
Now, that is true. I definitely would be surprised if we don't see some non-zero amount of Widow Mines in this game, though. Whether he goes heavily into Biomine, I don't know. Um, and just so you know, right now, iDrone's having a little bit of a tough time connecting. So we're going to just bear with us a moment here while we get the technical glitches worked out.
Yeah, there are others players that focus on just building marines. They actually take no geishers at all, and they're just going across the map with marines and like one geisher maybe for a few medevacs, and that's about it. And then they just split really hardcore. There's even people who still build tanks, and then they're confused. Why are my tanks not working or whatever? So the Widow Mines serve as a better unit than the tanks because tanks take a little bit longer to get into position. So, and then
Yeah,
for Zerg, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it's really tough not to go Biomine, I feel, as a Terran versus a Zerg, just because of how well that meta is working out for Terran at the moment. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's OP, and I'm certainly not going to say that, but I'm saying right now it's such a strong no-lose type of play. I think you have to consider that in your game.
Yeah, a lot of the Korean pros do that too. They say, something works, I'm going to keep doing it. And, and when somebody realizes that it works so many times, I have to find out a way to get around it. And that's what you could do in StarCraft. You could find alternatives. You don't necessarily have to, play the same format if you don't want to. If you know something, you want to try something different and it works, then, you're going to be the guy that creates that new style. You're going to be, everybody's going to copy you, and then there you go.
Well, I will say one thing, though. I think Legend can do just about anything he wants if iDrone's not able to connect to the game, though.
That's true. If you can't actually get into the game, that would be half the battle in this case. He is familiar with what his opponent is, but he actually has to get to the map before he actually takes the point off of his opponent.
So, and just so all of you know, it is my wife's birthday tonight. It's who would be Grandma, I suppose. So if I'm not around much after the game, it's either because I'm celebrating her birthday with her, or she's pounding the heck out of me for casting StarCraft on her birthday. I'm not sure which. So we'll find out for sure next week. If you don't see me next week, we know what happened. Call 911 if you don't see me next week.
If you want updates on that, all you have to do is follow us on Twitter and Facebook and also YouTube. We also have that stuff up above on the top of our tab right now if you want to follow updates for that.
And I really hope you do not get a "uh-oh, Grandpa's dead" tweet. That would be bad.
So we are still being of the utmost patience for our player to get into the lobby. I want to say it's probably this party glitch. I'm not sure if he needs to re-log into the game or whatever, as this has been really common during arcade games that I've seen, that you just have to re-log to be able to fix it. I'm not sure. There we go.
Oh, he's in. Someone mentioned he was doing homework before. I think they were covering for him. Who does homework anymore, really?
I don't know. I usually just copy-paste stuff.
I don't know how I made it through high school without Wikipedia. Yeah, you youngsters with your Wikipedia who have no idea how lucky you are.
You just, when you're doing your homework, just like, oh, I'm just going to, edit something and then say, hey, this is my source. It's an APA format and everything. I'm like, this is where I got it from. Now they don't use it anymore. But we are going to be starting up this game for a ZVT for Polar Night LE, and the casters are definitely ready. So we're about to get into the loading screen for these. Right now it is IG1 up over their opponent. Eternal Dreamers for 0.
All right, and here we are on Polar Night. We've got iDrone and Legend loading up right now. Blazemost, you there with me?
Yes, I am.
All right, we do have a little bit of static in the background. I hope that's not coming through to you folks at home. And in the lower right-hand corner, I suppose you'd call it, is the purple Zerg iDrone. And in the upper corner, we'll just call it upper, neither left nor right, is the green Terran Legend. And hang on, let me do a drone count. Okay, we're past 6, so I don't think we're going to be doing a 6 full here.
No, there is no 6 full at his opponent's disposal in this case. And you can verify that just by looking at the drone count. The tendency for your opponent to scout that would normally be in around 130 or 140, and they would be able to verify that. But in this case, there is no possibility. And I'm going to go into this map. For those of you that do not ladder, or there's 2 watchtowers in the center, and we also have rocks on the corner of the map to be able to take your 4th. And we also have these oddly placed 5ths. So if you take all your bases, which is totaling 5, and you decide to take a 4 base, these are pretty risky bases that you would take in case you wanted to make the game really, really, really long.
And we'll have to see, we're going to see a pool or a hatch first here out of iDrone. We'll find out. I believe we're going to find out in the next 30 seconds, would be my guess.
And he is making his way across his little area, little playground of creep that will eventually be created to create his first hatchery on the natural. While his opponent, Legend, is going to be opening Reapers in this case, and that's determined by the early gas that's taken right here. Like he'd actually a little bit of greediness by iDrone on not immediately connecting with the pool. Normally you would get it around 14, but in this case he's actually getting it at 16. So he's trying to make a little shortcuts up here as soon as he possibly can make them.
But he wasn't as greedy as to go 3 hatch before pool, though. So
That's a good point. Players have the tendency to do that when they scout no gas. In fact, iDrone decided not to scout, so he has to run the risk of, if it were a possibility, blind countering 2 racks. But in this case, he's not doing that, so he's not eligible to create a 3rd base really instantaneously, and you have to know that this gas is not taken.
And we do see a reactor going down in the barracks. We'll have to see if that's for future Hellion production or if he's actually going to go Marine Heavy. Given that he's got his gas at the time that he has, I would expect to see a factory getting plopped down relatively soon here.
Yeah. I feel like what Legend is going to do is he's going to build a lot of Hellions early on. I'm not sure if this will be a Blue Flame Hellion timing, but when players take their gas really early, it has the tendency to transition into a, I think it was around a 620 or 630 Hellion attack. He may do that. Don't take my word for it yet. We're going to see if he immediately goes into a starport and tries to do something with that. Yeah.
And no additional tech here coming out of iDrone. No gas taken at this time, so it looks like he's pretty content to drone up at the moment.
And he's going to go probably to around 30 or 40 drones before he actually takes those gases. A lot of players who immediately skip gas for Zerg, they don't want to focus on getting speed up because they realize there isn't very much incentive to it. And he is going to take both of his gases at the same time. So a little bit lax, like we were saying, iDrone taking a little bit of those shortcuts whenever he tries to get his drone count up.
And it looks like he's going to take a peek and see what Terran's doing now. Is a clever little hiding place for the Zergling there. Just outside of, little ways outside of Legend's natural, so if Legend does move out, he's got a little Zergling spy there that's going to let him know.
Yeah, iDrone has all the map control right now. He's actually denying Terran's 3rd in this case. And a couple Hellions going out to deny all of this map control. Hellions are pretty much a lot easier to have map dominance over compared to Lynx.
And iDrone did elect to go up to 4 queens for a little bit of safety there and probably a little bit of creep spread as well. And drops his 3rd hatch right about now as he doesn't see any kind of heavy pressure coming yet.
Yeah, for a normal timing, you put down a 3rd in this case, although I would still be a little bit suspicious of what his opponent's doing at the gas. He does have 4 Hellions out, but it should be able to be countered by the Queens that he has displayed right now, and probably a few Lings once speed is complete.
Right, his queens are going to take a while to get over there. He doesn't have creep spread that far, and I don't know that he's going to be able to do much to defend this third.
He'll eventually get over there to be able to hold it off. He'll just wait until the last possible moment. He realizes he's under attack right now, but Hellions don't do very much damage, although the Marines that are going to walk across the map may be able to actually force a cancel over here.
Oh, and if you look in the... let's see, Legend just took out an Overlord. He does have 1 Viking, presumably for Overlord hunting.
Yep. And the Marines actually showing up now provides a little bit of a threat for this hatchery. iDrone thought he could just freely take this hatch, but now he's going to be forced to cancel it. Otherwise, he will lose a lot of money. But does he realize it? No, he does not. And that was really costly for Legend.
Yeah, he let that finish. It finished right before it went down, so that was a little unfortunate for iDrone. He was probably timing it.
And in the process of this, that starport that was taken afterwards is actually going to create Cloaked Banshees. Now, you wouldn't necessarily... Wow, this is... Oh my gosh, again. You wouldn't necessarily see an early Cloaked Banshee. You probably would have scouted around 6:30 and seen it was Cloaked Banshees. But this is going to catch iDrone off guard because he's going to be like, oh, I don't see starport or whatever, so I'm not going to assume to put spores down. So he's not actually... unless he scouts it, he'll be able to defend against these Banshees that show up.
Well, iDrone actually has no scouting information at all. He does not see 1 building that Legend has put up yet. So he's certainly at a disadvantage, and he will absolutely not see those Banshees coming.
Mm-hmm. And in the process of not scouting the Banshees, looks like Legend is once again going to take the manhandle of going into mech. He's already starting Hellion production, and he is starting double upgrades for his... vehicle plate units and vehicle weapons. So once again, this Banshee is just in there at the base, and he realizes all of a sudden. Taking out drones.
Banshee's moving across the map right now, joining up with the Viking, and I don't know that... we'll have to see if this can do any damage, whether he chooses to wait for another Banshee or just go in with the single Banshee.
Yeah, he's already gone into the Banshee. He's already gotten 7 drone kills, and I feel like it's already successful enough. Spire going down for iDrone, and another Banshee over to the left to deny that third once again. Even these Hellions, I'm not sure if they have Blue Flame. No, they're not even focused on Blue Flame. They're going to try to deny that yet again.
And it looks like they're probably going to get that.
Yeah, they're going to get these Queens they're taking out too. I feel like iDrone is going to realize at this point that it's actually going to be a mech build, even though he's committing to Spire and melee upgrades. This is definitely not normal for iDrone to encounter.
Yeah, I think the Banshees definitely are something that iDrone doesn't have a counter for, and unfortunately iDrone, not only is he down on army supply, but he is 45 workers to the 55 of Legend, so he's really in a bad way right now. He's going to need to make something happen to get back into this game.
Yeah, the Overseer in the base barely recognizes that it is another factory in production, 2 factories so far. Although I don't see any transition. I feel like iDrone is going to be gulls enough to get these mutas out and try to get enough mutas to be able to counter any sort of mech units. But the Thor production is already starting. 2 of them already in production and 2 already out.
Yeah, and if he can get the mutas out quickly enough, he'll have a slight advantage. But there's already, like you mentioned, there's already 2 Thors out, and he's pulling SCVs with it.
Yeah,
to repair those Thors.
This is a serious timing push by Legend. He realizes he's disabled the third. He's got his 1-1 already. He realizes that Zerg is on the back foot still, whereas he's clear to do this attack.
And he's marching across right now. He's got the Terran Death March going, a couple of Banshees, Viking, Hellions, SCVs, and Thors. It's a pretty sizable force here, and I just don't know that iDrone has enough to hold this off. He's going to be in a bad way here in a minute.
Yeah, that hatchery is going to get focused down once again, and it's going to get taken out. There's so much color of units for Terran in this case. Thors, Banshee's still alive. None of that can be focused on. All the SCVs got taken out, unfortunately, so this attack will eventually get held off. But it'll take an extremely long time, as both units barely have any army supply.
I think iDrone made a good move there, taking out the SCVs with the mutas, and the Thors did not focus on his mutas at the time, so he got away with them at that moment. But that, once again, I think that we're just kind of slowing the bleeding down a little bit. He certainly has not swung back into this game yet, I feel.
Yeah. The attack is still there, and he's going to push his advantage. Oh, actually, he's going to back out as he takes a forward third in the process of doing that. It's just, iDrone does not have the muto count to actually kill all of this stuff fast enough. He had his third, he didn't have any of his gases this entire time, whereas his opponent already had 4 Thors, and they already had decent upgrades in terms of damage. There's just so many different things going on that he wasn't aware of.
Yeah, and by the same token, with Legend taking out that third the first time around, that kept iDrone from having the larger economy versus Legend's larger army. So I think that really hurt iDrone quite a bit, that initial third denial. Legend's taking the old philosophy, went ahead, just get farther ahead. That's okay.
Yeah, and the supply count shows that Legend is just, he's confident. He doesn't need to rush this game at all. None of these sort of all-ins were created at all. Although he pulled a lot of SCVs, he wanted to make sure he denied the third yet again. So now he's basically just confirming himself.
Well, absolutely. And, we all know Terran doesn't really need that many SCVs because they have mules. And it's late enough in the game with 3 CCs that, just popping off a few mules, you don't need SCVs anymore.
And I feel like iDrone should have taken his fourth a lot earlier. After he had his third denied, he should have focused on getting both of those bases up immediately. I don't feel like mutas were the right response in this case, as he's not going to be able to ever kill those Thors. They're just too grouped up now.
Yeah, there are just too many of them, and he does have some roaches on the field, but it's just not enough. It's only 12 roaches. This is the death march, I think. I think Legend just backed away to make sure he had absolutely the superior force going in here. And those Thors just decimating that poor Overseer.
Yeah, I don't see any sort of power units for Zerg. He needs to get either Swarm Hosts or Infestors out. It's just he's not going to be able to build up the amount of mutas, even though he's still building them. He's not going to get to 40 or 50 anytime soon.
No, and he's still on lair tech. He's not even teching up to Hive yet at this point. But I just don't feel he has the luxury of teching up to Hive either. I think he has to hold this off on tier 2 units, but I don't think he's going to be able to.
Yeah, here comes the engagement now. So many Hellbats that are in position to actually tank, while a lot of the Thors are handling a lot of the mutas. Still Banshees in play. This dynamic composition will probably force a GG from iDrone. There's just not enough money. GG gets called. Legend takes the second game.
And there it is. Good game indeed. And Eternal takes that game. That'll even the series up 1-1.
Yeah, that first denial of iDrone's third was really tremendous. It doesn't seem like it is, and he didn't treat it as it was, but it basically snowballed for a really bonus hit on that second attempt on the attack because of the fact that there was no scouting done. He had such an upgrade advantage for it, so I realized that I can actually push out with my next attack and quite possibly do a lot of damage.
Right. Yeah, iDrone was playing passive, was hoping to drone up and really get a huge economy going, but exactly as you said, taking out that third early really gave the game to Legend. So, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us here. This is the Top Dog League, brought to you by Thunderdog Esports. If you're just joining us, my name's Grandpa, and with me is the ever-sexy BlazeMost.
Hey, guys. We're going into the next game, and it's going to be on Neoplanet SLE. And both players are going into the lobby right now. Score is currently tied, and once again, we have a Terran versus a... He's still loading.
They even gave us the roster, and I wasn't smart enough to pick up on it. So it is going to be Strated versus Arca, and at the moment it appears to be 2 Terran. And are those Grandmaster players there, Blaze, or are those Master players? I'm so low on the totem pole, I can't even tell.
The light bluish icons represent that they are Masters level players, although they may have GM level caliber, but they have a GM career, so they may have experience in it. They just haven't got pushed into that ladder yet. But it is going to be a TVT, and we're going to see it on a small map. I'm looking really forward to this because we're going to see some siege tank wars.
And once again, we're casting Eternal Dreamers versus Integrity Gaming here.
And And the game is loading. The countdown has begun.
Game paused.
All right, so we are on the first, or the map, and a pause called out. So we're gonna try to figure out what's going on with it, and hopefully we can resolve the situation soon.
So
But I
believe
still have
this
the capability. Go ahead.
is this Neoplanet S we're playing on, Blaze?
Yes, it is.
All right, you want to tell us a little bit about this map while we wait for the pause to go?
Sure. There is golds that I've seen in the center of the map. They are taken very on occasion, especially on really drawn out maps when a player has confidence in actually taking the golds. CCs get floated into, those bases, and they get muled out really quick. And since we have two Terrans on the top right corner is capable of doing that, his name is Arca.
And in the lower left-hand corner, sporting the orange colors, is from Stranded from Eternal Dreamers. And once again, we've got a little bit of orange and red. This could get tricky for us casters, especially the casters with older eyes, as not all colors are as distinguishable from one another. Although certainly much better than the orange and yellow we saw last week, I think.
Yeah, and what he's referring to by odd colors, they're siege tank drops, marine drops, medevacs flying everywhere with, seeker missiles or whatever. There's a lot of weird stuff that could occur. We just had it like 2 games ago where a pylon was literally on top of their base, and the pylon was getting attacked. So I mean, I could change it just to represent it, but it doesn't work, unfortunately. So we're just going to try to pay attention to it.
This works better, keeps us on our toes, I think.
Mm-hmm. And Arca's already making a first deviation by taking his gas early. I feel like he's going to be the player that actually commits to doing some sort of Reaper harass, and that has a tendency to end games sometimes.
Well, and that's provided it's pulled off successfully. It's always a challenge to micro that Reaper up front while keeping your macro going in the background. If you're able to do that, and since they're both Masters players, I would imagine they are, then yeah, that could definitely give you a strong edge at the beginning of the game.
And Stranded going with the block for some odd reason. He's blocking with a supply depot right now, so that way no Marines or SCVs. I think SCVs would be a better priority to get inside of the base to figure out what it's doing. So I think he might be oriented more of a tech build, but I can't exactly tell right now.
Well, I did want to give props to Stranded for allowing Arca that pause. Apparently Arca's oven was on. So Eternal Dreamers class act, not wanting to see Arca's apartment burn down. So a round of applause there for them.
Yeah, that would be a really bad instance if that actually occurred. And surprisingly enough, the first unit is actually going to be a Marine by Arca, and he's going straight into a factory, but Stranded does see it.
Yeah, it looks like there was no attempt to hide that or delay it, just right into factory, like, yep, that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're going to see where he
I don't
goes.
believe is scouted at all yet.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't because there was a block, I think. Yeah, he hasn't seen anything yet. He's not focused on scouting any sort of things that are going on right now. He's totally fine with what he's doing, and he's just going to go with it.
Well, we saw that last game where iDrone just said, forget it, I'm not going to scout anything, and it did not work out to his in his favor. So we'll have to see how this game plays out.
CC going down for Stranded. He does see what's going on, and I think once he has a CC over there, he's probably going to put a forward bunker down just to be able to defend against any sort of attack, and a starport is actually going to be the response. The factory's whole intent is to create a tech lab, and I think Arca is going to go straight into Banshees. He's probably just going to lift these two buildings off and immediately swap those.
Yeah, with the second early gas there by Arca, I think you're dead on right with that. So we'll have to see if Stranded can sniff that out and can defend against it. He certainly has, certainly sees something might be up. Look at his marine spread, Stranded's marine spread.
Yeah, even players who want to deny what's going on with their base, they'll just patrol their marines on their plateau or whatever. The right thing that he should do in this case will be just to create an engineering bay to get some turrets up.
You know, as a former Marine myself, I would really like to see these Marines practicing their rifle drill right now instead of standing here idle. I think that's time wasted.
We're gonna see a starport even by Stranded now. This could be a decent response in case his opponent actually does go and get these Banshees over here quickly enough. If they'll build some Vikings, they'll handle them instead of Marines chasing them.
Yeah, and it looks like Stranded's going to go ahead and get that command center turned into an orbital right away, and he's going to reserve judgment on whether or not he wants to land that based on what he sees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see him doing anything. I feel like that the missile turrets will be created at the last possible second. It's really going to be dependent on whether or not he has the energy floating in at the right time when the Banshee shows up, because it is going across the map, and the Hellions actually see that right now. So that's a huge blunder by Arca just to throw that Banshee across the base. And I'm not sure if there's a response right now by Stranded, because that Banshee is just going half across the map now.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of luck there on Stranded's part, just going right across that Banshee's path, so he knows it's coming. He's moving his Marines back in case Cloak is finished, and he sees it's not, he's going to engage.
Yeah, the Cloak goes down. He has the potential to do a little bit more damage, but Scan is ready, and it gets taken out. That was a huge investment by Arca as he builds even a second Banshee right now, thinking he's going to continue to do damage. But that should proc Stranded to try to set up some sort of defense. No, I actually don't. He has 2 CCs, so he can still scan. He's totally in the fine.
Yeah, Stranded's fine. He doesn't need to worry too much about detection at this point. That Banshee from Arca is going to chase these Hellions away of Stranded, so Stranded had a good contain going till that second Banshee came out.
Yeah, and with this this CC in place now, the few SCVs that are mining is going to give a slow lead to Stranded because of the fact that these Banshees were not as successful as he's going to try again. Is he actually going to get some SCV kills this time? We're going to figure out whether or not he does or not.
Well, and I think going straight up front is not a good idea. The Marines know where they're at. He's able to put the scan down, drive the Banshee away. He really needed to come back around with the Banshee, I feel. Banshee just squealed away with a couple health there. 14 health on that Banshee.
As a Raven is being produced right now. Hellions actually get out. Wow, a lot of Marines taken out pretty early. Pretty good by Stranded to try to get that a little more leverage too. But as I said, a Raven is being produced. I'm curious of what that's going to be used for.
Well, yeah, I don't know that he would necessarily need a Raven. We haven't seen a lot of Banshees, only a couple. Oh, on Arca's side is the Raven. My bad, my apologies.
Yeah,
so maybe he assumes since he has the tech lab anyway on the starport, he's going to make a Raven.
Yeah, I guess that would be a god motive, so he'll be able to eventually get some AoE in case he deals with any sort of mass Marines. Transitioning into the late game, well, actually both players have Ravens. Jeez, that's appalling. But man, both players are actually, cognitive of, any sort of Banshees. I think it's because of the fact that it's, normal to have Banshees out to try to do some damage. So they're both ready to take them out in case it actually occurs.
Right. And as we saw, Banshee in your main force when you've got a large number of Hellions can be a problem. So I can definitely see why Stranded went ahead and got a Raven. Stranded, just FYI, is up 46 to 35 SCV. So, a 10-11 SCV lead is pretty substantial. And we also know he got his expansion down sooner. So I feel Stranded's probably in a little bit better position here, even though he does not quite have the army size. Here comes Arca marching across the map with some tanks and, of course, the Raven.
Yeah, and that Raven actually has energy on it, and if it gets taken out, that would be really bad. But Stimpack is not done. It's actually off by about 50-some seconds, so that Raven is just not being moved at all. Oh my gosh, that energy is so expensive.
Well, and I'm worried Stranded doesn't have enough to hold this off. We'll have to see. He's got his tank sieged up, but Arca's got the superior siege tank numbers, so this could definitely go in Arca's favor.
Yeah, and he is pushing his advantage. He is focusing on the siege tanks of his opponents, and he even has his in the back. But there's just very little Marines to actually do damage. His bunker will probably be taken out. But these siege tanks, oh man, I'm not sure. I don't see any response by Stranded on what he's going to do with them.
Yeah, he just, flat out doesn't seem to have enough stuff. He's definitely the defensive posture, hoping that Arca can't get in position, but Arca's got eyes on that command center, so Stranded's going to need to do something pretty quick here.
Yeah, and a little bit of a contain going on right now for Arca. He's pressing his advantage really early. And even auto turret being set up to actually cause the... It actually is granting him a sight now, just having this auto turret right here. And a committal push by Stranded. He realizes if he loses the SCV or CC, the game will be over, so the siege tanks get taken out. Very clutch move by Stranded to do that.
Yeah, I think that was his only option. The longer he waited, the worse position he was in, and he recognized that, and he just went for it to break that contain. Well, good job. Well done.
And the game is now stabilized. Supplies are relatively similar, and SCVs are also pretty close.
Yeah, Arca took that opportunity to go ahead and get his SCV count up, so very close game here. A little back and forth. We've seen a little Banshee. We've seen some tank, some Marines.
And the upgrades do favor Arca right now, so he does have +1, while his opponent is Stranded is taking his third already. I don't see any sort of CC being produced, but he is also doing a little bit of pressure. I don't think this is the right idea, though. He's forcing a siege, and that's probably all he'll be able to do, unless he decides to go for a drop and go entirely around.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that would necessarily be a bad move at all with those immobile siege tanks up front. He could definitely get some damage done, I feel, to the mineral line, but has elected just to go back and regroup.
Yeah, good choice by Stranded not to throw away unnecessary units. He does respect his player for being macro-oriented enough to actually get back into the game and not necessarily focus too much on his attack.
And, you know, like we mentioned before, Army values just about dead even, or supply values, 109 to 107, very close game here. It looks like Stranded is taking his third, does have that CC down, and is muling away on this third, so that could give him an eco edge here. I don't see, there we go. There's the command center from Arca just finishing up. He's going to turn that into an orbital and probably do the same thing.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, this is going to turn into one of those macro games. There isn't going to be any, cheeky stuff going on within the bases or anything. But as I say that, there is a drop being loaded by Stranded. He is just going straight for the base right now. But there is one siege tank to present them, and another one pops out. I think he should be able to hold this off.
Yeah, I think that's going to get shut down pretty quick here. Obviously Arca is going to take some damage from it, but not what Stranded was hoping for.
Yeah,
good placement of that siege tank.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty good. It was either going to force the drop actually inside of the mineral line, or it was going to force the drop on the siege tanks. As more turrets get placed down by Arca, and the composition for Stranded is just definitely moving around.
Well, and neither player has upgraded their Marines at all. I take that back. Arca does have +1 attack on his Marines. We got to keep those Marines safe. Give them some upgrades.
And it'll be useful for a majority of the game until there is a excess of siege tanks, and that's when we'll start seeing the transition. You don't want to rush into transitioning into a late game composition, because then you leave yourself vulnerable to a mid game attack. Now these medevacs are actually getting pursued now. There's missile turrets and even a widow mine now. There's just stuff everywhere to handle that. So
and Stranded's going ahead moving in. Stranded's moving in on the undefended natural here.
Yeah, he's going to capitalize on the fact that medevac, but I don't think this is going to do as much damage as he intends.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. It looks like Arca's holding this off pretty well, and Stranded's going to have to go away with his tail between his legs.
So this medevac was actually used as a dummy to try attract attention, but it didn't accomplish as much damage. He wasn't able to set up a siege line like he wanted outside of Arca's base.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a good idea, and just a little bit bad timing there to get his army in position on Arca's natural in time. So
Stranded taking the upper hand and already committing to +1 weapons as he's going to, try to get some upgrades for his siege tank line. Oddly enough, there is no siege tank permanent line set up yet. There are lots of spots to do it at, but at a certain point when you get to that, it's just we're going to see a huge, stalemate-ish thing going on if both these players start building up their tanks for the remainder of the game.
Well, Arca's got the better edge on a couple engagements here, and he's going to look to take advantage of it, I think. He's got his army moving down toward the third of Stranded. So we'll see if he's just playing cat and mouse or if he actually intends to engage.
Yeah, there's a lot of Marines here from Arca. He's not going to know. He did scan the composition. That's why Stranded did force a siege right outside of his third. He realizes that he needs to defend that. Otherwise, he's going to lose it. Sensor tower going down to be able to monitor what's going on. In fact, they're
Oh,
both
we got a
players.
little counterattack here. Small little elite squad of Marines heading into the third of Arca.
And they're going to do a lot of SCVs in the process. They're actually moving that composition that was outside of his base all the way back. So he's going to lose that spot.
He is going to pick up and run away, but I think he did the damage there. Not only did he force Arca's army back, but he did kill a number of SCVs and Marines of Arca's.
Yeah, he killed 15 in that case, probably around 10 or 15 total. And the Marines are actually going in another position now, so it's quite possible that Stranded's drop will be caught out of position, as it looks like both players are remobilizing their units to create a siege line on the top left side. A lot of SCVs are like, oh man, where am I supposed to be at right now?
Yeah, they were a little confused. They ended up in the middle of the battle.
And here comes an engagement now. Lots of siege tanks in favor of Stranded, already doing damage to those Marines. I'm not sure if it's the right avenue to engage from, but still stuff being taken out. Now they're going to start doing scan wars, where they're going to try to scan and try to find advantages. Well, there's an attack going on the top side. Those Marines are still there, and they were not taken out yet.
Yeah, no, good job by Stranded to get those back into play and distract Arca a little bit. I do like the scouting command center by Stranded.
Oh my god, really good engagement set up by Stranded. He realizes those tanks were out of position. Now he's actually going to push his advantage. He has so many tanks, that entire composition, he's going straight for the base. He realizes if he just falls back, he's just going to get all in at that point. And it's going to buy more time for Stranded to get more units out.
Yeah, that was perfect timing by Stranded, catching Arca's with his tanks unsieged, and all Arca can do is try to save what he can and maybe do a little bit of damage. He knows those units are lost.
Yeah, lots of Marines being taken out by Arca. There was just so many things that Stranded was able to capitalize on. He noticed there was a low siege tank count, and he also noticed that he had those unsieged. There was no way he was going to let that go unpunished, and that's how he was able to capitalize on that engagement. So now he's going to set up a siege line outside of Arca's base.
And thus the tables have turned. And so many siege tanks, so much devastation. This is going to be really, really tough for Arca to hold off, I feel.
Yeah, Arca does not have the siege tank count at this point. I feel like he's just going to push his advantage now. There isn't anything to respond to. GG gets called, and Stranded takes the game. Eternal Dreamers are now 2-1.
Very, very good game there. It was interesting to see how Arca had the edge for a while, but with one good engagement, Stranded was able to push back and really take that edge back and nail it home. Very good job to both players. So as you mentioned, it's Eternal Dreamers 2 games to Integrity Gaming 1. This is Grandpa from Thunderdog Esports bringing you to our Top Dog League. With me as always is Blazemos casting with us. He's the resident Masters player, so we can rely on his expertise to walk me through what's going on. And I'm the resident Silver League player because, well, you need one of those.
Yeah, we're going to go into the next match. We'd have as we're going to do it on Achillean Wastes, and the players are immediately going into the lobby as we are currently going into our 4th match, and it's going to be we're getting the players into the lobby right now. Achillean Wastes has been in the map pool for probably over like 8 or 9 months. I even remember the old map, Achillean Flats, that was created with a lot of the brush and the watchtowers in the center.
Looks like we're going to have Fenris Wolf against Mikhail. So Wolf from Eternal Dreamers and Mikhail from Integrity Gaming. Just waiting for Wolf to get in play here. And we'll be able to bring this to you on Achillean Wastes. And I do set up the map pool for this, so don't be surprised if you see some funky maps down the road. I don't know if I'll go so far as to bring in Scrap Station or Steps of War, but don't bet against it.
Yeah, Scrap Station was an odd map with the island. I almost feel like you would just float your CC on that island at the start of every match to confuse your player. But we are going to go into a PvT on Achillean Wastes, as both players are now in the lobby now, and they're going to start up the game, and here we go.
In 1 second, looks like we're just getting confirmation that both players are ready before we fire it up. And there we go. So it's going to be Fenris Wolf for Eternal Dreamers. Will be the pink Terran, and Mikhail for Integrity Gaming will be the green Protoss. So here we are on Acheron Waste. In the upper left-hand corner, it is the green Protoss from Integrity Gaming, Mikhail. And in the lower right-hand corner, we have the pink Terran from Fenris Wolf. Fenris Wolf from Eternal Dreamers. It takes a real man to wear pink, so I admire Fenris for pulling that color off so well.
Yeah, both players are allowed to select their colors, so they are given the color freedom to be whatever color they want in the StarCraft 2 games.
And unlike the orange-yellow combination that we sometimes see, I think I'll be okay telling the difference between the pink and the green.
Yeah, they should definitely be able to be seen easier. We do have Achillean wastes at our disposal in this case, and they have these fabulous rocks here created for the thirds of both players. They could be used defensively, and they could also be used offensively. In fact, players can make decisions to attack the rocks early, or they can just, attack the rocks to, say, hey, I'm going to buy some extra time before my attack or whatever, and, gain another 2,500 health in terms of barriers. Alternatively, we also have the watchtowers on the corners of the map, in contrast to the center of the map. It doesn't necessarily provide them with entire map vision, but it gives a good gist of it.
And we'll have to see. We have seen an early Dark Shrine out of a Protoss player earlier on tonight. I don't know that we'll see that necessarily today, but we'll have to wait and see. Mikhail trying to get a probe in here real quick to get some scouting information, and he will. The big question is, will that probe ever make it out alive?
I don't think so. He's definitely got 40 health points. It's not like he has, 550 health points like the Ultralisk does. And we actually see a proxy Rax coming out by Fenris Wolf. I think this is going to transition into... let's see. Let me think about it for a second. He has a lot of gas. I feel like he's going to commit to Reapers. Yeah, there goes one right now. And he does have another Rax, so he's going to do some aggression now really early in this map, Achillean Wastes.
Yeah, not necessarily disguising anything with that second barracks other than the level of aggression he can put on. Right now it looks like a typical Reaper expand, but with that second barracks he may be able to bring the noise a little bit quicker and lull Mikhail into a false sense of security.
Yeah, very good map awareness on blocking off the supply depot. I mean, he does see this SCV coming from a very odd location if he was actually focused in on that. But I don't know. He's still in the dark. Chrono Boost, not... Oh, there it goes. Running down on the core. So he's on a time bomb right now for about 100 seconds to try to get a couple stalkers out.
Yeah, and Mikhail, he may not know exactly what's going on, but he definitely knows something odd is going on right now.
So a pylon is actually being produced by the probe that's going outside of the base, but the Reaper is not going to intercept it. So not only is he going to be able to figure out that that's going on, but he's also going to be able to defend against his attack because there's actually a stalker in position right now. And the probe is going to intercept. Fenris Wolf does see now there is actually 3 Reapers on the map, and he will eventually realize that there's actually a second barracks right next to the pylon that he just placed right now. And he actually realizes that it's there, and he decides to put the pylon somewhere else.
Well, he's either going to put the pylon somewhere else, or he's going to devote that money to defense. His warp gate is just about finished up, and he's got 2 more gateways warping in. So I think he's going to be okay against the early Reaper harass.
There are just so much wonky stuff going on right now. The Reapers aren't doing too much. They disabled a lot of shields, and those Reapers are going to try to focus in on killing that. Oh, that would be huge. Oh, man. That Stalker just got taken out, but there is a warp inside of the base of Fenris Wolf, and those Reapers are out of position. These Zealots are going to immediately focus in on the CC that's being produced.
And Fenris has nothing back home to counter this. He's going to have those Reapers beat feet back home to defend against this, and I think that Mothership Core is going to play a big role in this coming up.
Yeah, the Mothership Core will always be focused in on the Reapers, and they'll always try to buffer a lot. As 2 bunkers being produced by Fenris Wolf, he realizes he has to hold off against his attack, but he has Reapers. Do Reapers kill Stalkers fast enough? Not necessarily. That's why he's focusing in on those first, because he realizes that's going to do the most damage.
Yeah, the Zealots will eventually take him out, and they have, but not before he got one of the Stalkers out and almost got the second. That Mothership Core is just hammering away at the SCVs.
Lots of SCVs being pulled. Total really smart play by Mikkel to be focusing on doing an attack, realizing that there is just Reapers out, and the Reapers were not successful in trying to get probe kills. They're actually defending their base right now, trying to get Marines out, and it's just there's not enough to hold off this attack. As much as it's a pressure build, it looks like he might be able to take this game.
Well, we'll have to, yeah, I don't know how Fenris is going to pull this off, and he does not. He GG's out.
GG gets called. The score is now tied 2-2.
And you know what? Fenris Wolf tried to do something a little cutesy there. I think almost pulled it off. Wasn't far away from it. But the problem is whenever you try something cutesy and you don't pull it off, you're probably going to have a bad day. But excellent game. Very entertaining. Fenris getting taken down by Mikhail. So that's actually going to even it up. Integrity Gaming 2, Eternal Dreamers 2. And that's going to force us to a rubber match. However, the Top Dog League is set up, so all 5 players would get to play no matter what. Calling it a rubber match is good just because it sounds cool, but we'd all be playing anyway.
All right, so the next map has been decided to be Yeonsu, and we are going to look at this map to figure out specifically what it is. Yeah, it is a 2-player map, and it is the one with the snow and the grass on the corners. There is that amazing island base on the corners of the map, top left and bottom right, that have the rocks actually blocking it off where you can actually take it.
And we should have Baldwin and Zaylin up next.
And we'll figure out what the races of those players are whenever they join the lobby. But for those of you that are just joining, this is the final game of our stream series that we do on a weekly basis every Tuesday starting at 6 p.m. PST. If you would like to follow us and keep us up on updates, our information is up above from Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So once these players into the lobby, which they are now, it's actually going to be a Zerg versus Protoss on Yeonsu, and that's going to be our last match.
And this is Thunderdog Esports bringing to you these games. This is our Top Dog League. Feel free to check us out at www.thunderdogesports.com.
And those were just linked also. So that makes it a little bit easier so you can actually see it. And we're still waiting for confirmation from both players to verify that they are good to go. So there's no, odd stuff going on, breaking down or whatever. And yeah.
And away we go. And here we are on Yeonsu, is it, I believe?
Yep.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. In the lower left-hand corner, we have the pink Protoss. From Integrity Gaming, it is Zaylin. And in the upper right-hand corner, from Eternal Dreamers, it is the blue Zerg, Baldwin.
And as I was saying on this map, this is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss, so we're going to figure out what kind of shenanigans that these players are going to go through, whether it's basically within the first few minutes or quite possibly throughout the course of the game.
Well, it looks like we do have a 9 drone count already, so no 6-pull shenanigans here.
Yeah, it's very uncommon to see really early aggression from the Zerg. There are a few choice builds at disposal for the Zerg. Commonly enough, I think the Roach Ling push at around 6 or 7 minutes off of like 2 gases and 2 bases was really frequent at the end of Wings of Liberty, and usually would scout the Zerg's third. Protoss would scout the Zerg's third to verify that, but once the Gateway Expand build was created, there was a lot of neglect for doing stuff like that because of the Mothership Core being created.
Right. And as a Zerg player, I do not like the Mothership Core because it really negates a lot of my Ling rushes, and I need all the help I can get. So
And surprisingly enough, the Ling rushes were actually really, really common in hot beta. During that period, people were still trying to investigate on how to use the mothership core. They were trying to come up with walls, learning new maps and stuff like that. And there was a lot of players just focusing on, just making Lings because, players didn't understand how to wall off yet. So it was a transitionary period, so to speak, with the MSC.
And Ling Rush is still working Silver League, by the way. Just a pro tip for you all out there.
I do agree with that, and I fully support it. Oh, that drone just got. Oh man, that drone just got taken out. Good control by Zalen.
It's always nice to see the little worker wars in the beginning. It adds a little extra flair to it.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a gateway expand from Zalen, although he is immediately going into a core. Generally speaking, you would see a Nexus down from Protoss at around 345 with this build, and he would go from there. Anything later, and you should probably be suspecting some sort of gas investment or any proxy tech, but I don't think it's going to be that in this case, as the probe is actually going to make a Nexus probably around the next few seconds.
Yeah, Baldwin is just now taking gas, so we'll have to see if he's doing that strictly for Ling speed or if he has something else in mind. He does have his natural finishing up at the moment, and of course Zalen's just dropping his as well.
And there isn't really any unorthodox stuff going in by Zalen. All this looks pretty normal. He's going to try to wall off. He's even having his probe attack the rocks so he can get a little bit more stuff to create. 2 Lings are showing up. I think the 2 Lings are just showing up to see what the MSC timing is, so it's a little bit delayed in this case.
Yeah, those 2 little scouting Lings are always good. You're guaranteed to get some information, and it looked like he saw what he was looking for because he backed away right away.
Yeah, he doesn't really need to. And if forward Robo actually gets created by Zalen, he is immediately going to focus on trying to get units out of there. I think it's going to be more focused in on making an OBS first. I don't think he's going to make Immortals. If he does, then he's going to do a timing with these 2 Immortals that he's going to produce. So we're going to figure out which one he decides to commit to.
Yeah, and I think he was just also concerned about getting all of his production facilities up front to create that wall, be a little safe, and now he's got time to go ahead and execute.
Mm-hmm. And Zerg's about to take his 3rd right now. Pretty decent timing to take his 3rd, so that way he doesn't leave himself vulnerable to any sort of gateway pressure. Since he already realizes that there is a robo being built, he's probably not going to get attacked within the next couple minutes.
Right. No, definitely good move there, going ahead, getting the 3rd right away. Droning up really heavily at this point, which he should. He knows there's nothing coming down right around the corner. Other thing, looking at Baldwin, he did stop at 100 gas, so was just concerned about getting the Ling speed for the moment, pulled those guys off of gas. Although it's probably going to put them right back on at this point.
Yeah, and Zalen is not really committing to gas at this point. He did build an early Robo, and he actually is committing to 2 Immortals. And this is going to be a Immortal Zealot timing. Once his 2nd Immortal pops, he will probably push his 2 Immortals out to the 3rd. This is going to be a really hard push to hold off, because if he decides to commit to a Warp Prism afterwards, we're going to see how well Zalen can use his Warp Prism micro with his 2 Immortals.
Yeah, and I feel like he's going to have to, once he does have the number of Immortals he's going for, he is going to have to push out with them. If he does wait too long, he runs the risk of Zerg coming up with mutas. But right now, that doesn't look to be an immediate threat. Baldwin is not even taking up to lair at this point.
Yeah, he's going to be focusing more on just getting roaches and lings out to deal with it. And although mutas is definitely a really strong choice, there goes the Warp Prism, he's not going to be able to get it out on time, so he's going to be relying on roaches and lings to hold this off. So really strong choice by Zalen on this map, so we're going to see how well he executes it.
And he is moving out already. He does have that Warp Prism queued up to go ahead and immediately engage with his army so he can warp in reinforcements. Probably just waiting for it to catch up a little bit here, I would imagine.
And Zerg's production is definitely standard in terms of drone counts. He's not focusing on getting his 3rd saturated because he realizes he's about to get attacked, so he's getting a lot of units in transit. And a Twilight actually going down to follow up for this. I think he realizes he's not going to be able to finish the game with this, so he's already working on his transition for this, which is really smart by Zalen.
Yeah, definitely. I do like that decision. I don't think he counted on Baldwin having quite this many units out. Baldwin's got 30 Lings and 13 Roaches, and that's a pretty sizable force here against just a handful of Zealots and Immortals.
Man. And he's going to try to abuse this really tight area over here. Really smart decision making by Zalen. He's got pretty good control, but all of his units, there is no force field. All of his stuff's going to get surrounded. He has to force a mass recall. Otherwise, he's just not going to get anything out of his investment. Both of his mortals get pulled, and he loses a lot of zealots. This is going to actually provoke a timing by Baldwin. He's going to start building, drones and actually push his advantage with all the units that he built. And it's really smart by him to do this.
No, absolutely. I think anytime you hold off a push that hard, I think you have to counterattack. I don't know how much he's going to get done here, but it's definitely going to be annoying for Zalen, if nothing else.
He made the mistake of not getting any sentries out, and he was just totally focused on getting a lot of his gas invested in Immortals, but there were so many Lings, and that was really smart by him. Now the sentries are being warped in, but it's a little too late. There's just nothing by Zalen to defend against this attack.
And that Roach count is just too heavy, and Baldwin did not build a Can of Raid in time. This looks like it's going to be GG for Zalen unless he can pull out some magic here real quick.
And GG gets called. Baldwin wins the third game of the series and takes it 3-2 for Eternal Dreamers.
Some excellent, excellent matches. I hope you guys enjoyed them as much as we did. That's Eternal Dreamers 3, Integrity Gaming 2. Some excellent matches. The rubber match especially, very, very good. And I'd like to thank all the players that were involved, both from Integrity Gaming and Eternal Dreamers, for letting us cast these matches. We really appreciate it. And I'd like to thank all of you out there for joining us here. This is Grandpa from Thunderdog Esports, bringing you our Top Dog League. We're here every Tuesday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And with me is Blaze Most. He should be here with me pretty much every week, too.
Yeah, I'll be here casting games. We just had really great matches. There was a lot of creativity, and there was a lot of great defenses. Really smart players that we have here on North America. So if you want to come up with your own team and join our tournament, you can within the next couple months. We'll be hosting yet another Top Dog League, which you can participate in once you come up with a team. So check us out and create your own team.
And it's www.thunderdogesports.com. Don't be afraid to leave us some feedback. Let us know what you liked about today and what you didn't like about today, and we'll see what we can do. Have a good evening, folks.